This video is not made for kids. It's designed to be suitable for all audiences, but quite frankly, the FTC scares me. So this video is an adult's perspective on Prodigy and a review from that perspective and for other adults and parents, but not necessarily parents. Hello and welcome back to the final for a while, Prodigy review, where I spent a 21-hour day yesterday. It took 7 hours from hitting play on Discovery to making the comment on the video, which is the last thing I do for any video. Actually a bit more, because I did the intro and the thumbnail before hitting play, because I knew it would take a really long time. And then I've literally just woken up to see it's gotten, like, basically no views, less than the Discovery one for, like, the previous seasons before it, because I named it Prodigy Season 4 episode and what Discovery. I knew I was so tired I would have messed up that title. I checked so many times. But anyway, I hope it's not too late for you to come and enjoy the last episode of Prodigy. As if you somehow haven't heard, Prodigy's taking a break until December 6th, I think, January 6th, whatever the first week of January is. And I'll still go back and do it. If Discovery still gets really poor views, I'll probably move it back to the first slot rather than the other slots. But if you want to see me talk about Discovery for quite a lot longer than this, you can click there, the description. There'll be links all over the place. But without further ado, let's get started with Firma, which is a great name, by the way. I really like the idea of using a star is a warp engine, because warp in Star Trek, and I mean sort of even right now, is a power problem. But warp in Star Trek is an exponential power problem, at least at what they're doing it in the Voyager times. Like, that's why all the ships go 9.9, and then 99, and then, like, 999, and it's all insanely faster than, like, you know, warp 9.0. There's probably a graphic on screen now, but warp after 9 is like, vroom. And so if you could, like, harness a star and use it for power, then that's a great idea. That being said, antimatter reactions are the most efficient possible reaction in the universe. They're 100% efficient. Like, yes, actually capturing that energy isn't going to be 100% efficient, but, you know, that's true for anything. A star is fusion or fission. I can never remember. But they're not more efficient than antimatter. Like, yeah, antimatter is hard to get, and a star is gonna be not infinitely self-perpetuating, but presumably last quite a bit. No, small stars last longer. I don't know about, like, you know, the scale if you put it on a ship, but yeah, it'll last a while. I'm thinking about it, the problem Janeway was having was that engine was eating power, not generating power. In fact, how does it go offline? It's like a star? But anyway, it's like, how much power are you actually getting from your nuclear reactor? Because I'd really wanna... I'm not saying they're wrong, right? Because, like, you know, even if it's less power, if you're using a significantly less amount of a star than antimatter, which we don't really know how rare it is, but dilithium was the bottleneck, not antimatter, in the end. That'd be interesting. I mean, I've always assumed they could make antimatter, but you still have to make antimatter from presumably matter. If someone's done the math, I'd really want to know, like, well, first off, what kind of power do you need for the insane warp they get, and then could you get it with a star easier than you could just more antimatter? Now, the caveat to that is the Romulans have been powering their starships with black holes for decades, and I haven't been silent about that, but I also haven't been overly critical, and I feel it's a bit unfair to go up to Prodigy and say, actually, a star's not gonna produce that much energy compared to antimatter. They're gonna be like, yeah, what about compared to a black hole, mate? Like, I don't know. The Romulans are... I think the Romulans are actually using magic. They don't know how their ships work. They just tell people it's a black hole. And they're like, we don't get it either. They just go forward. They build them like birds, because they think the birds have to flap their wings to go through space. Well, that was a pretty good episode of Prodigy, which, funny enough, is actually how I test my audio levels with these videos, is with the phrase, that was a pretty good episode of X, so I know I say that a lot. It had good moments, it had moments that were a bit weird. Like, I think Dahl was a little too back and forth and kind of quick about their feelings towards Gwen, because I said before, they were overly antagonistic, there's the word, they were overly antagonistic towards Gwen for well, the last episode particularly, and then they went on their first date, which felt like a little bit much, but no, it was still good, especially from the perspective of the showing it to kids. Actually, no, I'm sold on it a lot more, because from the perspective of showing kids Starfleet values, it probably needed to be a little faster than normal, because you have to teach the kids forgiveness, and basically, yeah, forgiveness, second chances, stuff like that. And if you have Dol being too antagonistic for too long, then you might set that behavior is alright, at least for a bit. They probably could have done it a bit better, where I wouldn't have some complaints. But from that perspective, I think it's good, yeah. And of course, from this point on, Gwen is obviously on their side. And they did have some experience before Prodigy. She was kind of like the Odo. That's what she was. She was the Odo during the Bajoran occupation. She was I know I'm technically part of the oppressive government, but I'm also going to do what I can to be fair and reasonable and help you guys out. That's what she was. And Odo was a hero to the Bajorans, so yeah, alright, actually. This episode also had a moment I quite liked where the diviner found the protostar, and then, it was the moment where he was walking up the ramp and Janeway was waiting for him, and then it was Dol, and it turned out to be the Vines where the other guy was at. That was a really nicely done moment. It's hard to follow up I'm gonna censor that. It's hard to follow up Discovery's moment if you haven't seen Discovery yet. I've got to remember, people aren't watching these in the order I am, probably. But no, that was one I didn't see. I was ready for a Janeway diviner confrontation, but yeah, I like that. That was really well done. I also like Janeway had the moment of what would the real Janeway do, which felt like, I don't know what the Doctor's first moment was, but it felt like the first time I saw her being more than her programming, and I was prescribing real internal motivations and feelings, sentience, essentially, to her behaviors and actions. I could see a bit of I'm a figment, a depiction of this great hero. I'm one of Starfleet's finest captains. How do I live up to that? And kind of constantly trying to do that justice, and maybe trying to find their own identity between that. But I think she did really well. Kate Mulgrew as well. It's nice to have her back in the Janeway role with the Janeway personality. Yeah, sure, her scenes are really well. I was talking about it as well in Discovery. It's a competent captain being a competent captain. It's wonderful. I thought they were going to do a bit, though, and she's like, something is eating so much power. And I was like, it's you. And I would have loved, they probably could have done something where it's like, we need to shut something off, it's eating so much power. Oh, it's me. I'm the problem. And maybe doing something with that, where she can't shut herself off, obviously, but maybe she has to do something weird for the crew. Maybe she has to turn off her body and just kind of interact in software, but that's uncomfortable for whatever reason, just being non-corporeal for a hologram. That's weird. Something like, I don't know. But I thought that's what they were going to do, rather than your power source draining so much power, which, yes, I'll point out, you do have to contain a sun. That's going to take power. In even real nuclear reactors, fusion reactors, they'll need an input of energy and some maintenance. At least I think fusion reactors do. But also, if the energy maintenance of your energy source is significant enough to where it's actually causing an energy problem, that is not a viable energy source. If I recall correctly, I think that's actually one of the major problems with a lot of fusion fission cutting-edge designs nowadays. I think Gwen's growth was really well done as well. I now completely believe she'd be a part of this crew, rather than with the diviner. Again, and I think it's a lot of Prodigy, not necessarily the most original idea, the parent choosing between material object of immense value and child. I've seen that before. Several people could list several examples, but I think Prodigy's just... Sorry, there's that cough. I think Prodigy's just a very well-executed show. And I think, actually, that's why I liked the scene where the Diviner went to the Protostar so well, is because that's something I haven't seen before. It may be the most core elements, a fake-out, essentially. We've seen loads of fake-outs. Not many of them you won't see coming. Yeah, there are examples, but not a lot. but on top of being really well executed, that exact sort of scenario I don't think I've ever seen before. And so I think that's part of why I really liked it. I'm glad they left it off. They tied their knots, right? It's not like the cliffhanger ending where we're just going to spend ages going, oh, what happens next, and probably forget about it. It's like the crew are finally free. They can go off and do whatever. There's a bit of drawback, like I want to learn more about this protostar. I mean, I want to. I think that was real clever, by the way, hiding the secret to the engine in the marketing, essentially, in the name. I haven't seen anyone bring up that possibility. Even though thinking about it, it does kind of look like a star in a sphere. Like you can see that was really well done. Yeah, I like that we've tied things up. And I don't know, if the apocalypse happened tomorrow, I wouldn't be too upset that I didn't get the next episode of Prodigy. I want to see it, don't get me wrong, but it's not like, well, the end of the world if the end of the world happened. That's a weird thing to say, but I like how I like the episode they chose to end on. Shall we get into the scene by scene? About 50 minutes faster than I did for Discovery. Rock Talk was nice in a lot of those scenes, actually. I like Rock Talk scenes. I mean, I don't really know what it is. It's just some of them are nice little jokes. Some of the dumb things I'd do. Like, can we call the planet Larry? In the game Stellaris, there you can find an ocean planet that's sentient. It's a sentient ocean planet. And in all my playthroughs I find it, I name that planet Dave. So I'm like, yeah, it's just a sentient. It's a person. It's Dave from the planet. It's the starstruckness of, just some 8-year-old seeing the wonders of the universe and like really loving it. But they also have a lot of the good scenes. I mentioned the one where she'd never eaten anything else in the cafeteria. Like the prison food was the only thing she knew. She also had the bit where like she loved all the fluffy animals around her and weren't afraid of how she looked. It's what it is the like young innocenceness and just she's not holding anything back because of how young she is. And I think it works really well. And I think it's a really good way of Prodigy to get its trauma into the show. It's Steven Universe-ness. This is the kid show, but we're also dealing with some pretty serious issues and some people with some seriously messed up stuff going on inside of them. This was another interesting bit where they were firing at the big robot thing and then Gwen used the torch, because it was like showing the kids the weapons are bad, use your mind. It's the Doctor Who, the Star Trek. I mean, they fire phasers a lot, but in general, it's mind over violence. That sort of thing. But it was kind of like you're using your weapon to just make another weapon, which just burns the sentient leaves and stuff to death. It's almost a bit more cruel, even though I don't think she intended it that way. I mean, if you're talking a real young kid, I guess it's enough of the lesson of the weapons are bad, use your mind. But nuanced, it's a bit of a weird, like, I don't know, they're fighting for their life, but it's like as a weapons are bad, use your mind, it's a bit of a, well, no, it's just kind of use your mind to make a better weapon. A more effective weapon. I think I'll probably try and play this though, but, she threw the thing. It's on fire, and then instantly, like, the entire world is on fire, which was a bit weird. I mean, I don't know, psychically linked, the whole planet's one organism, incredibly flammable. I don't know, you can make it work. In fact, maybe it's not even on fire. Maybe the vines were like, ooh, that's a great idea, and made it look like everything was on fire to scare them. Like, there are ways around it, but I kind of laughed at it, like, wow, that's a very flammable planet. I am a bit ashamed of my Trekkiness that's what I was say, my Trekkie knowledge, where I watched this entire scene, and then I went, hang on, where in the Delta Quadrant are they? That's a bird of prey. And I'm trying to work it out, because I feel they're actually in the sort of the part of the Delta Quadrant that's basically the Beta Quadrant, where the Klingons live. The Klingons, the Romulans. A lot of maps don't really show detail of the Delta Quadrant. The one that I actually used to get my head around the universe, the Stellaris New Horizons mod. Hi, Editing Nathan here. I'm actually cutting this bit because the problem with using the Stellaris New Horizons map is it means the Star Trek galaxy in my head is very full. Basically everything is occupied by an alien territory. But as I'm reminded looking at this map, I think it's the Nemesis map. It might be a Voyager map, but the Star Trek universe is very small, and it's what I love about it, but it's easy to forget. Just looking at that Alpha Beta Quadrant, I feel like it should be way bigger. It should be like 200% bigger or something. And so my mental image of the Klingon Empire actually is much bigger. It bumps up to that Beta Delta Quadrant line. Not entirely rather, but the Hirogen space is going to cross down from the Delta Quadrant into that Beta Quadrant. And if you look at this map, which I think is actually what the guy who made Picard had when he was kind of given his briefing of the universe, they actually do have the Hirogen very, very entrenched in the Beta Quadrant. There's actually a lot I think is wrong with this map, notably the Great Barrier around the center of the galaxy, not the outside of the galaxy, which I think it actually is there, but it's also on the outside of the galaxy. Like, the point is, I'm actually cutting this because it's not very accurate, but it actually, the problems of having a Klingon ship are worse based off the realities of the Star Trek map and not my internal, this is roughly where everyone is. That wouldn't explain why Gwen knows about the Klingons. Like, I'm still not entirely happy with how they're playing around with the species in the distance. Because again, I don't think Discovery Season 3 and 4 had shown any Delta Quadrant species, and if we were just now starting to, like, intermingle, you'd think that there would be species who'd make it to Earth, or the Federation, like at least one. There'd be some Talaxians, or just something that we would have seen in the Federation, in the same way we see alien species on Earth. I'd really love a map of where we are in the Delta Quadrant. That would be great, but also with the Protostar engine, I suspect they'll almost do an anti-Voyager where, I mean, that was so fast. Like, they're off the sensors of the Diviner ship. Like, they could probably go just about anywhere, which would be a very useful experimental warp drive for the President to be testing in Discovery. Actually, think about this is also relying on dilithium, isn't it? So, yeah, you would need an experiment. Never mind, actually, that makes sense. Because it's still the warp engine thing, this is still relying on dilithium, so you would still need to investigate getting off dilithium through it. But yeah, I kind of get the feeling we're going to jump all over the Delta Quadrant. Another pun that only works in English? Why is it the kid shows seem to be the biggest with that? I was a bit confused by this scene, as much as I liked it, because I thought part of the reason Gwen realized the Vine Diviner wasn't her father was that he was out of his little tank thing, whatever, which it looks like he can actually do, but it's weird. Maybe I misunderstood the scene, or it was last week, I'm forgetting it, but it's kind of weird that that would be a tip-off then, but not make her suspicious now. I guess the real robot guy is here. She knows the real people are here. So yeah, actually, that works. This is the episode where I talk myself out of my problems, isn't it? This was another great little scene. Not that I couldn't see it coming. I mean, most people would. But the, you'll do the right thing, won't you? Yes, I think I will, whatever. The way she said it as well is very well delivered of, you know, the acceptance of it, of, like, what the Diviner is. It's sort of the stuff she's known deep down, I imagine, but finally taking the step to be different and change it, make things better, and I really liked, but also a great lesson for the kids, you know, those Starfleet values, the Steven Universe-ness. I like this scene. I liked a lot of Gwen's stuff in this episode, and I look forward to seeing Gwen as a proper member of the crew now, rather than just kind of there is a prisoner. And that's it. I'm very hungry, and my voice is starting to die. I'm coughing a lot. So I hope you enjoyed a lot faster than the Discovery video. If you want more, I'll give you more. There's an end screen that's going to pop up soon. Just click on that hour and 4-minute Discovery review. And we will be back for Prodigy in January. I don't know if it'll come out like now, like this, the middle of the day Thursday, or very early AM like it used to. But we'll see how Discovery performs on its own, and then I'll make the call. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.